Hey, Bob, we are in, I think, the third part of a series here on deliverance prayer. And we have a special guest with us that you and I know well. And I think almost everybody else knows well too, because he knows everyone. When I think about people who I'm like, I wonder if there any way I could get in contact with so and so, I just go, Father Boniface probably knows them. So it's kind of funny. So, Father Boniface Hicks, welcome to the podcast. Good to see you. Good to be with you. Hope you're having a good day today. So, do you want me to do the full bio, Father? Okay. So, just in case people don't know, I'll do a shortened version because it would take up half the episode if I actually did the full bio. So, basic version is Father Boniface Hicks is a Benedictine monk of St. Vincent Arch Abbey in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. He's a Catholic priest, obviously, and director of the spiritual formation program at St. Vincent, works with seminarians there, as well as the director of the Institute of Ministry Formation at St. Vincent. He's on radio shows, he's on podcasts everywhere, he's guests on podcasts. He's written numerous books on spiritual direction, on Our Lady, on St. Joseph. There's just on and on and on. And so I just Google Father Boniface Hicks, and then all the stuff comes up. Father, I'm not even going to go into it. So just so everybody knows, this Father Boniface is my spiritual director, and I'm very blessed to have him in my life. And so we have the capacity to do that as well as chat and do fun things like this. So I'm excited about where we're going to head today. And so, Father, we were, like when Bob and I were talking about doing this series, you were quickly the person we wanted to have join us, I think for multiple reasons. One of which for me is your thoughtfulness in all of these domains, as well as your experience in these domains. And I know this very personally, your capacity to integrate all kinds of various things in ways that are very fruitful and helpful to everyday discipleship. So here we go. So, I mean, there's 1,000 ways that we could start this thing, but I think the first one is, Father, how would you just basically introduce and describe the concept of deliverance prayer, deliverance ministry? What is this thing? And how do you look at it from a starting vantage point?
Um, this is actually a place where I want to give Neil Lozano some credit. I uh, received Unbound Prayer from him about 10 years ago, and then learned how to give the presentations. And then I've been leading conferences in the dioceses of Greensburg and Pittsburgh basically for 7 or 8 years. And so I know some of his scripts pretty well, and I really appreciate some of the ways that he presents it. He says deliverance, first of all, is a good word. It has the word freedom in it, and is I think that's the thing to keep in mind. He calls it a practical application of the gospel to our lives, and I think that's a beautiful way to describe it. And he also points out from Colossians that God has delivered us from the dominion of darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of his beloved Son. And I really I've kind of drilled down a little deeper into that verse than the way that he presents it, to say a dominion is constricting, it's suffocating, it's that dominion of darkness is constricting us into a small story. But the kingdom of the beloved Son is expansive. The beloved Son is the one loved by the Father. It's a kingdom of love in which we also enter into that flow of love between Father and Son. And that's where our stories expand. At the same time, the word transfer is the same word that's used when Jesus says, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, be transferred into the sea, wow, and it will go. And there's a kind of miraculous quality to it. That is to say, it's taking us beyond our capacity. And so I really love some of those dimensions, that God is continually freeing us, delivering us from this constricted domain into an expansive place where our stories express the divine love story between the Father and the Son. And it requires something beyond human power to make that happen. And then just a last comment along those lines, the deliverance is the story of Israel from Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Exodus. And just like the Exodus is not about Pharaoh, so deliverance should not be about the devil. And that's the bad turn that I think it often takes, which captures people's imagination and incites their fears and distracts them from the real story, which is the power of Christ to save us and to bring us home into the kingdom of the beloved Son.
So many ideas there I want to
Mm.
comment on. One
That's
is
so
the
good.
idea of transfer. Think about somebody being transferred in their work from one place to another, or a transfer from one team to another in sports, being traded. Uh, there's a sense of being in a completely different space as you're describing it. It's like we're in one space and now we're in another space. And that's interesting, your comment on dominion versus kingdom, because a kingdom is a dominion also. But since the fall, we think about dominion of darkness as being, as you said, oppressive, but the dominion of Christ is expansive. It's like his kingdom is expansive. It's opening. And so oftentimes, as we all know in our own life, and we know as we walk with people, so much of what brings people to come for help are places of oppression, or places where life has become narrow, where the darkness seems to press in, even though we've been transferred into the kingdom of light. And so, as you're using the analogy with the Israelites, they're brought out of Egypt, but then Egypt has to be brought out of them. And so they've been transferred out of Egypt. And it takes them a while to get to the promised land, because it takes them a while for Egypt to be brought out of them, which is, I think, growing, and it's a lot of the work that we all three of us do, is, growing that capacity to receive love, to even though we've been brought into that expansive environment, places of our hearts aren't necessarily capable fully to receive that expansiveness. And that feels like the work of deliverance in terms of all of our lives.
Yeah, I would say sometimes I think of it in parts language.
Yeah, yeah,
A part of us has been delivered and a part of us hasn't.
yeah.
And I think the work of the enemy is always fragmentation anyway, isolating parts or separating parts or polarizing parts. And so we carry some of those inner tensions. And those are the things that constrict us, hold us in a small story, or prevent us from being the full gift that we're meant to be. So that process of healing and deliverance seem to have a continuity to me. And what you described as, in one way being delivered from Egypt, and then still needing to get Egypt out of us. And so that whole process is an ongoing process of growth in the Christian life.
I feel like we're kind of doing it. Maybe we can explicitly do this, which is let's define some terms. So we just tossed around dominion and kingdom, deliverance. So, Father, maybe I can just you can be a quick Catholic GBT for us, GPT, whatever, however you say it, for us right now. So, there's so many concepts in here, and I'm eventually going to get to a final one, which is story, because I'm hearing you nuance story there a bit in what you were just saying. So maybe I can get to that one in the last one. But first of all, deliverance is about it's basically the process of freedom. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, I think bringing us into freedom. The word liverance,
Yeah.
liberation is the word for freedom in Latin, basically.
Okay.